Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the Pixel 9a versus the S24 FE. I guess this is the better comparison. We did the A56 versus the 9a, but this phone is a little bit more like on par with the price here, because you can get a S24 FE brand new for $499 as well as the same price as the Pixel. And yeah, so very interesting choice here. So which kind of, I consider these like upper mid-range phones these days, because they are kind of expensive now. But yeah, so which phone is better? Let's check out the pros and the cons. Let's check out the design of these two phones here. I'm a big fan of the Pixel design this year. I think it looks great. It has a kind of unique design this year as far as the camera goes, because it is completely flat, so it's not gonna wobble if you are someone who like types on the table. But you guys can see the S24 FE wobbles a little bit. It's not really a big deal, but it's just something that you don't really see anymore in smartphones. Now, the Pixel 9a does have a plastic back, which I didn't know it was a plastic back until I actually read the spec sheet. So nothing about this phone feels cheap. It does have metal sides as well too. It's a very well built phone. Both of these phones are extremely solid, but I have to say that the S24 FE, at least from like the back and materials, it is a glass and metal phone, so there's no plastic on this phone as well. And they're also both IP68 dust and water resistant. But neither of these phones feel cheap. I think I like the feel of the Pixel 9a just a little bit more, because it's not as squared off on the sides here. The S24 kind of has like a sharper feel on the sides, but both very nice looking devices. Really great color options this year as well too. And the Pixel 9a is a little bit smaller as well, so anyone with smaller hands, this phone is definitely going to be the more comfortable phone. Alright, so let's talk about the displays here. So first off, we'll start with the Pixel. It does have a slightly smaller display at 6.3 inches, and I guess it's not really slight. It is definitely a smaller display in comparison. And then you also do have a 2700 nits peak brightness. It's HDR, 120 hertz, 1080p, 422 for the PPI. With the S24, we do have the dynamic AMOLED display. It is HDR 10 plus, and then it also has 1900 nits peak brightness. It is also 1080p at 6.7 inches, and then you also have 385 for the PPI. Both displays look great. I don't really have an issue. As you can see, Google has kind of a little bit thicker bezels here up top, and then they both have some pretty thick bezels at the bottom. They look pretty much the same, but I guess you have like equally thick bezels all around the Pixel. It really comes, a lot of people, they like the bezels matching the bottom on the Pixel. It just comes down to what you like, but they both have kind of thicker bezels, right? As far as the colors go, you have really good colors on both. I still think the Samsung panel is a little bit better, only because we do have HDR 10 plus here, and that is not here on the Pixel. And then the Pixel does beat it in terms of max brightness, so it does get a lot brighter outdoors in direct sunlight. Besides that, I think both displays are really good. I really wouldn't mind using either displays. It's not really a gigantic difference in terms of quality here. But yeah, so as far as the panels goes, I think anybody would really like the screens on these phones these days. They are really nice looking. So let's talk about the specs and the software a little bit more here. The Pixel has the Tensor G4. We get 7 years of MajorOS updates. We also have 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model. And then for the S24 FE, we also get 7 years of MajorOS updates. This phone has not gotten the One UI 7 update yet. It should be coming like this month, I believe. And then we also do have the Exynos 2400E processor, 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM here. And as far as, which skin you like, is going to come down to, what you prefer. I think if you're more of a power user, you're definitely going to go towards the S24 FE because you can take advantage of good lock, and you can just do a lot with the One UI skin. And you also have stuff like Samsung desktop support, features like that. If you like more simple stuff, the Pixel is really nice. It's just straight, the Google experience. If you, really like that, it just comes down to your personal preference on what kind of software you like. Now, when it comes to the speed of these two devices, you can see this Exynos processor actually does a better job when it comes to the single and multi-core score. And then if we jump in here to our 3D Mark scores, you can see how these compared. You get slightly better score as well, almost 18 versus almost 16. So not a big difference, but 11 to 19, 7 to 28. And then it looks like the pixel is a lot cooler as well when I run this test. So that's also one thing that I've noticed. This phone is like really, really cool. It has not like even gotten a little bit warm. Now I haven't really been intense gaming on this phone yet, but this phone is like super, super cool. That's something I noticed. Now, when it comes to just launching applications, let's go ahead and launch Subway Surf. The Galaxy looks to be a little bit faster when it comes to launching applications. The animations are really nice on both. Like I said, with the Pixel, it does a quicker back animation than the Galaxy. The Galaxy kind of has like a slower animation there. It's not that it's slow, it's just the way that they do it. Google Earth. Look like the Galaxy again. Try YouTube. Okay. So very, very nice animations on both of these. Temple Run. Now, I would say if you are a gamer, you're going to be leaning a little bit more towards the S24 FE, and I'll show you guys why. And it's not because the score is dramatically, better. It's just way better optimized for a lot of the popular titles like Call of Duty, PUBG, stuff like that. And I'll show you guys what I mean. But as you guys can see, general performance here is pretty nice. Try Geometry Dash. Boom. That looked pretty even. So not a big deal when it comes to speed here. Let's get into PUBG. Alright, so when it comes to like gaming performance, the Pixel does a great job, and I don't have an issue with it for like casual gaming, but for people who are kind of trying to play a little bit more competitive, you can see that you only have the 60 frames option and you have 90 frames on the S24 FE. So you get those, you just get better frame rates, and you'll see this throughout a lot of games. The Pixels, they just never optimize them. Even on like the Pixel 9 Pro XL, you still can't play at 90 frames or 120 or anything like that. So it is unfortunate. It's something I wish Google would work on just in general with these phones, because you do have people who like to play games that really might want a Pixel, so they typically have to go towards other brands, Samsung, Apple, stuff like that. But yeah, besides that, guys, the performance is solid. But yeah, if you're trying to play competitively and you want better frame rates, you go with the S24 FE. Now, as far as the other features go, both of these phones have the AI stuff. I'm not a big fan of a lot of this AI stuff, but you guys circle to search Gemini. Samsung has their own Galaxy AI section in here that you can mess around with, that I ever rarely use. I never like really use any of the AI stuff, but you do have it here on the Pixel as well too. And the Gemini is, well, this one, once this one gets updated, it should have the Gemini, because it's much better than the Bixby. But yeah, you'll have that Gemini. So yeah, so if you're into the AI stuff, it's gonna be a big thing from now on with these phones. Let's check out these speakers, max volume. So the speakers are not bad on either of these phones. If I had to pick one, I do like the sound of the S24 FE a little bit more. I think it sounds a little bit more balanced. The bass is a little bit better on the Pixel for sure, but I don't like the overall sound of this speaker. Both speakers kind of have like their cons. They're not as loud as like a lot of other speakers that we've tested. But they will get the job done. The top speaker is pretty good on both. So I would say that, yeah, if you like more bass, the Pixel definitely has a little bit more bass, but I think the sound is overall cleaner on the S24. And both of these have the optical fingerprint scanner, which has been working pretty well. I haven't had an issue with it. So they both are pretty smooth. And yeah, so no issues with that. You can also use face unlock if you don't want to, mess around with that. But yeah, so the camera is going to be probably the most important decision making process here for someone looking at these two phones. So the Pixel has a 48 megapixel standard and a 13 megapixel ultra wide. There's no telephoto lens on here, so that means you're going to be limited in zoom photography. So you have 8x zoom, and that's only going to be digital zoom. And then we also have a 13 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 30. Now, you do have a 50 megapixel standard on the S24 FE. This has a telephoto lens, so you can get up to 30x zoom, and that's an 8 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can actually shoot in 8K 30, so you have a slightly higher resolution for recording. And then you also have a 10 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 4K 60. But the numbers aren't really everything. Check out these side-by-side stills and video. Which phone would you prefer for photos? Let's talk about battery life. Screen on time has been excellent on the Pixel since I've got it in. The standby time has been extremely good on the Pixel. I think the standby time is better than the S24 FE. Also, the Pixel has a bigger battery life as well. So they've been able to fit a 5100 milliamp hour battery here, which is absolutely insane. And then you also have 23 watt charging with 7.5 watt wireless charging. You have a 4700 milliamp hour battery on the S24, and then it's 25 watt charging and then 50 watt wireless charging. So you do have faster wireless charging. I do think I'm getting better battery life on the Pixel for sure. Yeah, it's not like it's dramatically better, but yeah, you do have better battery life on the Pixel for me personally. So I've been very impressed with this phone as far as screen on time goes. And yeah, the S24 FE is not a bad phone at all when it comes to battery life, so it's not something you have to worry about. But I think if you want the best battery life, I do think this has better battery life in my experience. But yeah, so this is a very interesting comparison. So you do have, quite a few trade-offs here. But I think it really comes down to the cameras, because both phones are pretty close in, what they do. But there's big trade-offs here. So I think the Pixel has a better camera in my personal opinion. But you also have better performance on the S24 FE as well. And also One UI, I think, is just a lot more polished, especially once you get to One UI 7 that's coming as well. And you have a lot more advanced features. But yeah, it really depends on what you're looking for, guys. So I'm very curious to see which phone you actually go with.